This is Trish, your friendly neighborhood death doula here in Anacortes, Washington, speaking to you from the comfort of my quarantined living room. I'm speaking to you today because I keep hearing a word that strikes terror into my heart, and that is ventilators. Every single day we are hearing stories about the states aren't getting enough ventilators, and the president is ordering ventilators, and they're making more ventilators, and they're going to bring ventilators. Let's talk about ventilators. Ventilators are one of those pieces of medical equipment that strike total terror into my heart as a person who advocates for people at end of life. It's a machine that is designed to keep your body breathing when it ceases to do so. When your body it no longer has the ability or the desire to keep breathing, this machine will breathe for you. It pushes air in, they put a tube into your trachea, and it pushes air in and releases that air back out. Now, ventilators were not designed to prolong the experience of death, but that is what they do. They were designed to maybe give someone a chance to recover a little bit so that when their body is exhausted and their resources are used up, they can maybe come back from a trauma or an illness. But let's be realistic. There is a big difference between how your body responds to a trauma or an illness when you're 30 years old or 40 years old or even 50 years old than it does in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. I talk to people a lot about thinking long and hard about end-of-life decisions when they make their advance directive. And thinking long and hard means thinking about what kind of invasive procedures you're willing to have when your body's done. Your body's tired and done and doesn't want to play. Death is not always the worst outcome in a hospital setting. There are lots of brutal things that can be done to you to prolong what is in essence your death, not really your life. Ventilators are high up on my list of one of those things that are used to prolong death, because in our culture are very death phobic. Let's not talk about it. Let's certainly not think about it. And we're going to keep it away no matter what culture. It's one of those things that people reach for. With this disease, with COVID-19, which is a pretty nasty respiratory infection, the odds are bad if you go on a ventilator. If you are put on a ventilator with COVID-19, the statistics are showing 50% of those people don't make it. Now, in a pandemic where there are limited ventilators, that basically is leaving a lot in the hands of medical professionals with regard to deciding who gets that ventilator and who doesn't. And as they did in Italy, a lot of times those decisions are based on not what people like to think of who deserves to die. It's not that we're all going to die, first of all. But second of all, it's how much life can be saved. How many years of life can be saved? Now, certainly if someone is 30 or 40 or even 50, there's the possibility of saving 20, 30, 40 years of life. When somebody is in their late 60s, even middle 60s, 70s, 80s, we might be saving a couple years, 10 years of life. If it works. And again, it's a 50% chance it won't. In addition to that, there's also the very real fact that we're not talking about a pleasant time. Patients with COVID-19 are isolated. They're only seeing the people who are caring for them, and those people are in full PPE. So they're in full spacesuits of protective equipment. They're not seeing smiling faces. They're not seeing comforting hands. They're seeing medical professionals in spacesuits, poking them, prodding them, putting tubes down them. They're gasping for air. And then once they get on the ventilator, they're letting a machine breathe for them. They're probably sedated and unconscious at that point. This is not quality of life. I ask my clients and my friends and my family, when we talk about end-of-life paperwork, to consider long and hard the type of death you're willing to experience, because it does not have to be uncomfortable. We live in a culture where we are very capable of keeping you comfortable at the end of your life. There's not going to be pain. It's not going to happen. But every invasive procedure creates trauma to the body. And being on a ventilator, just being on a ventilator, leads to organ failure. If you are that far gone, your kidneys are going to go or your heart's going to go. You know, we're not talking about how many people we can put on dialysis either. And there is a fair amount of evidence that this is going to leave your lungs scarred. If you are older, you need to think about this, and you need to have your advance directive complete and up to date, and you need to have it say what you want. And that, in my case, would be, I don't want to be ventilated under any conditions like that. Because I have comorbidities, I have high blood pressure, even though I'm only 58, I'm overweight. Those comorbidities make it more likely I will not survive once I'm ventilated. Do I want a ventilator wasted, keeping me unconscious and breathing for another couple of weeks? No, I don't. That's a personal decision that everyone has to make. But it's a decision that you should make from a position of being well informed about what your options are. You need to take the time, if you haven't already, to look at an advance directive and to make some choices about what you are willing to have done in those last moments, hours, weeks. Because that comes to all of us eventually, folks. We are all going to die. We have only a few things that we can take control of. This is one of them. This pandemic has showed us how much is not in our control. We can't even control toilet paper. But what we can do is take control of what may or may not happen to us when we're ill. Should we fall ill with this virus, what would I be willing to go through? What would I be willing to put my family through? What kind of expenses am I willing to incur? How am I willing to have this happen? What can I take control of now? And that's having all your paperwork done and ready to go. Endoflifewashington.org is an excellent website. I'll put a link in the comments. They carry all the forms. You can go on the computer, click. If you've got a copy machine, download them, fill them out. An advance directive for your healthcare needs to be notarized. So you're going to have to make some arrangements to get that done if you haven't done it already. But I'm more than willing to help you, and I'm more than willing to help you think about what you want and make sure that you're informed about what your choices are. That's what I do. So I do not hope this scared you. I hope this made you think. I hope this was thought-provoking and that you'll think about it and maybe give me a message and I'll get back to you. In the meantime, wash your hands for 20 seconds, social distance, stay safe, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Thanks.